Hey, okay, I'm going to show you another embellished pour. This one was probably done about 7 or 8 years ago. That's how long ago I was starting to do pours. It's a 12 by 24 canvas. It is not sealed. I can tell it's not sealed. And the first thing we're going to do is clean it, and you can clean it with Dawn dish detergent. Suds it up and do it that way when you've got cells. And this was the initial way that we got cells years ago, was with silicone oil, treadmill lubricant, or OGX. My tip is Perrier sparkling water. So I'm just going to go back over all this. Wipe it down really well. And see how dirty it is? It's been in a garage, just sitting in the garage with a bunch of other canvases that I have. So that's how I clean it. Sparkling water. Who knew? I learned that from Jill Jackson years ago on her YouTube channel. She was a fluid artist. I haven't seen her do anything in several years. Not sure what's happened. Okay, so then you go and you find your image that you want to paint, and I choose a vector, which is just an outline, so it kind of looks cartoonish. And this is very fuzzy. It's pixelated because it's a small image that I used, and I blew it up just to probably to 900 pixels or so, and it really blurs the image. But I still have the gist of what the design looks like. And I'm doing hollyhocks. And this might be a little bit, too challenging for you if you're just kind of a beginner painter, and that's fine. I'm going to try to simplify it. But the first thing you do is you find your image, and then you go to rapidresizer.com. You log in. You do not have to pay for an account. You don't have to buy a monthly subscription or anything. And you load in your image from your computer. You cannot do this on your phone because you're going to load the image into Rapid Resizer and then print it from there to get your layout. And this is what we're going to transfer onto this canvas. And this is a 12 by 24 canvas, and so I printed it to maybe 18 inches long. And it will do a proportional size for your image. It'll proportionally scale it down so that it doesn't distort your image as well. And then you print it out, and it's got little dotted lines that are along all the edges, and I've cut off the middle ones, but it'll divide it up. If it was a real skinny image, it would print it in 2 pieces of paper, but this was a lot wider, so it prints it in 4. And then so basically you just cut those images out along the dotted line, and then you tape them together. And you don't have to take it real, professionally and perfectly. You just put a couple of pieces of tape to basically hold it together. Make sure your lines are lined up. This is a really great tool. I trace a lot of stuff that I paint. I trace it out first from an image or an AI image or something that I found or something I've saved. Some people call it cheating. I call it just takes out hours and hours of your time from having to try to sketch out something. And then I'm just going to take my scissors and just remove all this excess. Just so you can kind of get a gist of how it's going to be. Cut off the top a little bit here so you get the feel of the actual size that will be on the canvas. And it starts pretty much black at the bottom. So I'm going to center it pretty much, go up a little bit, and then I'll taper out at the bottom here where it's flat. I'll just bring down a leaf here and a leaf here and maybe one here just to give it something at the bottom to make it make sense. And you can, you know, tape it down. We're going to use white transfer paper because most of this background is dark or vivid colors. Like if it were light colors, you would use like a dark blue transfer paper. This is white. It has a waxy side, so you want the waxy side face down so it transfers onto your canvas. And you can use these over and over again. I used it for my peacock painting that I just did. I don't even need much down here because it doesn't go very far. Okay. And then you also have to make sure to hold this paper in place. So I'm going to put frog tape. Regular tape does not hold on a canvas that's been painted, so I'm going to put frog tape at the top there. Then you want a ballpoint pen, and you're going to press really, really firmly. And I'm not going to I'm just going to go with shapes, and then I'll paint in what I want to paint in. I want the stalk, and I am pressing very firmly. But like these little things, I'm just going to make really small buds. And you're just doing the basic outline of the flower, because you're going to be going over all this with paint anyway. Like this one, I'm just going to do the outer edges, and I'll figure out my brush strokes as I go. This one, I think I'm going to simplify it a little bit. You don't have to do the exact same shapes that it has on the vector. Or it's, it's considered clip art, illustration. There's so many AI programs now. So you're just looking for clip art and vectors and illustrations for simple designs. Bring this stalk down. I'm doing it really quickly. Mostly the outer edges, and like part of that I don't want, so I'm just going to do that edge. I think I'm going to leave this piece out, and I might throw a leaf in there, but we're basically going to go in and we're going to paint white into all these shapes, and then we'll add the colors at the last. These are kind of big leaves, and I'm not crazy about the big leaves, but I am going to make them kind of sort of like the leaf that it is. I'm not trying to be real specific. Okay, so here, there's no paper down here, but I'm gonna just kind of make up my leaf at the bottom, and then I'm gonna just make up a simple leaf right there. Sometimes if you don't remember, if you trace over something, you can always go over it again. It doesn't really matter. So hopefully I have enough here. It's there. It's barely showing. And I'm sorry if it feels a little dark when I'm filming. I'm in a really bright bedroom, and I don't know why, but for some reason it just comes across dark in my camera. I've got a white Posca pen, and I'm going to go back just to give myself a better idea, because I'm going to paint over all of this mostly with white anyway. And maybe not, if I can get enough color for it to start with that will cover what's underneath. Sometimes if you have dark colors or vivid colors, you have to paint white first so that you get your true color to shine through. This is a Posca pen. I'm out of frame, I'm sure too. This is the 1.8 to 2.5 millimeter size tip. So it's not the smaller one that I typically use for fine details. It's a little bit bigger because I'm going to be painting all this in and I want a really definite outline. So I'm just referring to my print out here. This is where, we're not going to draw in the whole flower. We're just getting the basic shape, which right now doesn't maybe make a lot of sense, but it will once we paint it in. Also, a very obvious thing too is if you're right-handed, paint from left to right so you don't put your hand in the paint. If you're left-handed, paint from right to left. So paint towards your dominant hand so that you're not laying your hand into wet paint, because this is acrylic paint in a pen. It dries pretty quickly, but it's still initially it's still kind of wet. And you can just kind of rub off. You could use an eraser to get rid of any white lines that you're not going to use as far as painting in the shapes. What we want to do first, we can paint straight onto this with our paints, but I kind of like to just put down a layer of white first. It just makes the colors pop better on top of white versus putting it on top of the color. I'm going to switch back and forth between this video and another video I'm doing. So if I come back later and I've got white now, and I come back later and I've got other colors on my palette, just ignore it because I'm often doing a couple of paintings at one time. I've got a smaller, a size 8 flat brush and a size 10 flat brush that I'll probably use to put in the base color. I'm just going to put my white right here. This is golden paint. I've been using golden just because it's really the better quality paints. I usually use like Deco Art, and there's nothing wrong with Deco Art, but I do love the quality of golden. So I'm just going to start up here, and it's very fluid. The white especially is very fluid, and I'm just going to really basically paint in the shapes. And it might make some of the drawn lines go away, but you'll be able to kind of see it through the paint because it's a little bit on the thinner side, the white is. It seems like the other colors are not quite as thin, but there's colors that are transparent, so they come out transparent no matter what. I had another painting that I did that was already sealed, and if it's sealed, then you've got to sand your canvas to get to have a little bit of a tooth on top of the canvas where it will hold that paint, and then you can just do your painting straight over it. Whether you sealed it with sealer or not, you can still paint over it. You just got to sand it down a little bit. And then once you paint and you revarnish, it'll make everything kind of pop back again that was made to look dull from your sanding. So don't worry about that. But like I said, I can kind of see through my white. You may not be able to see from there. I'll try to show you once I've painted this whole thing. And I'm going to quit talking and just fast forward, and then I'll show you up close that you can kind of see through it a little bit. And also notice this canvas is a little loose. So I'm going to take my spraying bottle. This is like a mister, I love it. And I'm going to really wet the back of the canvas real well. And that will help tighten the canvas. You can do that with a new canvas, you can do it with an old canvas, one that you've already painted. It just tightens up the canvas on the frame, the material, and makes it tighter. So you can do it at any point in time, whether your canvas is old, new, it does not matter. You can tighten it anytime you want to if it feels like it's kind of bouncing around a little bit and it's not quite as tight as it should be. And I'll have to refer to my drawing, and I might redraw in some shapes, you know, maybe with a color, just so I can see my shapes better as opposed to looking at the white shapes right now. Sometimes it takes a couple of steps to make the magic happen before you really can get started in your painting. So I'm using my bigger brush, and when you want to get into smaller areas, you just stand your brush up. And that will get into the smaller areas easier. Show you real quick. It's wet. I'm not gonna lay it flat, but you just take your spray bottle, so I sprayed it really well. I go in and rub it with my hand, get under the stretcher bar. I'm going to turn my blow dryer on to dry the front first. I'll let it finish drying on its own, but it's already a bit tight. And you can do that a couple of times if you need to make it stronger, more like tight like a drum. So if I bring this up, I don't know if you can see the lines underneath the white. It might be hard in this lighting. But then, so what I'm going to do, I'm probably going to do pinkish flowers. So you just shake it and press. This is the smaller one. This is the 0.7 millimeters. So it's a more of a fine mark versus the next up size. If you can see the difference in the nibs there. I use these most of the time, but if you've got a larger thing and you kind of want to just do it fast, you can use the bigger tipped pieces. So I'm going to just quickly go through and draw back in any petal shapes. Okay, so that helps it, so I can kind of see my flower shapes, and then I can make them into whatever I want them to be. So I'm going to turn the camera off, and I'm going to be working on another piece that I just want to go ahead and prep this canvas and let it be drying, and it'll be ready to roll, and I'll come back to this You might see different colors on my palette that I'm using, but I'll show you what all I'm doing. So I'll be back. Okay, I wanted to show you, these are hollyhocks that I'm gonna paint, probably in the pinky tones, and just wanted to show you some reference pictures. You know, just to kind of see roughly what they look like, and then I'm going to very loosely paint them, paint them to look like hollyhocks. So there's like a really simple one right there. So that's what I'm going to refer to while I'm painting. I'm going to lay this, you know, just to the side so I can see the structures of the flowers for reference. Got my palette that I used on another painting, and I'm just gonna use put out fresh paint for this because that's already dried. I'm using golden paints. I think I'm gonna start with the stem and the green part. So just gonna use a little bit of that green gold. This is phthalo green. I always add a little brown just to kind of tone it down. So I'm going to put a little puddle of brown right there. And I'm going to use, that's dried there. I'm going to put some yellow here. I'll put a little white near my green, and then I'm going to put a pile of white right there. So anytime you rinse your brush, dry the bristles off. See, there's even a little pink left in there, which is okay. Make sure that this is dry as well, or it will drip into your paint and water it down. I'm going to put a little brown. I always put brown with my green. Get some of that dark green, some of the green gold, some yellow. I want kind of a mid-tone. A little white, which will lighten it up significantly. So that now I'm going to add a little more brown to it. The brown just makes it more true to nature. If you use just the straight green from the bottles, it can be a little much. So the brown kind of tones it down. The golden paint is pretty fluid. It's not as thick as say craft paints if you're used to using craft paints. So basically right now I'm just base coating in the green. I'll just kind of, the little buds, I'll just kind of put a little green at the bottom of them. Again, if you need to kind of look at your resource that you found your picture from, just to make sure you're kind of staying with the flow of the stuff. So I'm going to try not to talk too much, because what happens is I pause during my sentences, and I know it can be irritating. So you can just watch me, and I'll tell you what I'm doing as I go as far as colors and things like that. See, painting these green leaves here, they kind of blend into the background. Looks rough now. It takes layering up. I know down here I also want to add a little green. The varnish coat at the end, which I usually use spray on anything that's a lot. Large canvases I use brush on varnish, but anything like 12 to 24 inches smaller I use spray. So I'm going to take this green, and I have a little slow dry medium I'm adding to it. I'm going to put a little bit more brown in it, a little bit of yellow. So punch it up a little bit, but still very naturey. And then I'm going to go back and put my second coat on like really quick. And I'm not even worrying about really edges of the pieces because I'm going to have a highlight and a shadow. So this is really just a quick second coat to make it look more filled in. You can tell here I'm going to want these leaves to be lighter because they're in this, mixed in with this green. This golden paint goes a long way too. It's fluid. It's a fluid acrylic, but it really does go a long way when you're using it. It's definitely more expensive paint for sure, but it's well worth it quality wise, and it does dry to a satin finish if you don't like varnishing your canvases, but you have to use everything in a satin finish in order to not have to varnish it. And if you're mixing, like I have a little bit of deco art, then I've got to use a varnish to make it all cohesive for sheen purposes. So now this is all getting that second coat, which makes it look more solid. And I'm going to do down here just a few little what I call one-stroke leaves. Just to add a little something down here just to make it feel not so bland. So a little bit of dark green. I'm putting just a tiny bit on the corner and then white. And you just push down and pull up. So I'm going to rinse. You can use a small liner brush or whatever. I like just using the big brush, and you just keep the bristles flat and you can make pretty straight lines. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to mix some brown and the dark green and the yellow. Add more brown. So it's like a deep kind of forest green. And so we're going to pretend that there is a light source coming from one side or the other. So I think I'm going to say the light is coming from the left. So it's going to be hitting the left side of everything. So I'm going to have the shadow on the right side. So I'm just going to add, I'm just basically holding my bristles straight up, the brush straight up. And I'm just adding that darker shadow. And it's going to be down on the bottom or on the right hand side of everything. Or if it's under a flower, it's going to be shadowed pretty much all the way. Get some more. Keep the bristles together really flat. Again, if it's near a flower underneath it, it'll be shadowed more. So all these would be kind of on this side of the leaf. Bottom side. Or near the flower, it might be shadowed just a little bit. So let's draw a little line through the middle. And so the light would be hitting kind of on this part of the middle of the leaf, and this would be kind of shadowed. So I'm just going to brush out just a little bit. You can blend with your finger too. That's why I always have paint all over my hands. Okay, so here the light would be hitting, if we have the center of the leaf, the light would be hitting this portion, and this would be in the shade. So we're going to go under the flower here. Need to add a little water to make it move better. So again, anywhere where there's a flower near it, it's going to kind of be in a shadow. Maybe down at the bottom of the leaf it might be a little bit shadowed. Rinse. Now we're going to take that white and the green gold, which makes a really bright kind of punchy color. I'm going to add a little brown to tone it down a bit. Add a little bit more yellow, a little bit of green, a little bit more white. Let's see how that looks. Sometimes you can see it's not enough, so I'm going to add more white and a little bit of yellow, which will really pop it. And I have a shaky hand. You can put your pinky down to kind of help guide your brush. Keep your hand a little bit more steady. So I'm just kind of adding some bright green in there. I'm not going for realism in this piece. I'm going to add just a little bit more white. I just want it to be colorful and playful. So there is the brightness on that leaf. Over here, more white in it. We've got to make it stand out against that other green. So all along this edge, and I'm going to bring it back in towards the leaf, and that leaves the middle part in that mid-tone and just the top part of the leaf highlighted. So same over here, just the top part, and then coming inwards. I need some slow dry medium. You can add water too, but slow dry is meant to be added to paint. Make a little bit more of this because it's drying out pretty quickly. I've got a ceiling fan on. Okay, so I'm going to put a little line for a highlight there. This is going to be all highlighted, so we're just going to go out this way. Maybe there's just a hint there. So here we'll come and just fan it out from the middle. And that one gets a little bit of a highlight. You can bounce around and add in different places that you want to. It just makes it pop off the canvas. I can add a little bit more white to that and really come back and put just a little bit more green in there. That green is super, super strong, and so you can put just a little bit. Now it's going kind of minty. When you don't add the yellow, it's kind of a minty green. Let's see what that looks like. We could even put a touch of mint green just here and there. That helps it even pop a little more. Okay, I think I'm going to put a little yellow in that and add a little touch there. And you can go real kind of towards the yellow direction too, just to add little pops. Go back lighter here. Almost an outlined effect, and I'm still holding my bristles, this wide big brush, kind of straight up, and that way I can get crisper lines, just keeping the bristles together flat and then holding it straight up. I like that. So now we can move this down a bit and work on the flowers. Now if I were doing like white flowers, I've got some greenish water here. I would have to rinse my water out and get it really clean because you don't want to dirty your white with the green, but we're going to go with pink, so it's not going to make as much of a difference. Okay, so I'm going to use golden. I'm going to use quinacridone magenta, which is a lovely, lovely color. I do have some Pyrrole red. I'll stick it right here. This is my favorite. It's Liquitex Fluorescent Pink. I love this. It really gives it your pinks a pop. So I kind of want to go deeper in towards where the stamen area is in the middle. And then lighter, I think, on the outside, because that lighter color on the outside of the petals will pop against the colors. So deeper in the middle and then lighter. But we need kind of a central overall color. So I'm just going to mix up white and the quinacridone magenta. And that quinacridone is really strong. I'm going to put a little bit of the fluorescent, so that gives it that nice pinky color. And I'm going to put a drop of, literally a drop, and it comes out fast, of that slow dry medium. A little bit more of that fluorescent, maybe a touch of yellow, which will warm it up a bit. But I want a good amount of this because it's going to really kind of be all of the flowers in some form or fashion. So I'm going to add a little bit more white to that and put white back in this pot there. I can even put a little bit of that red in. That'll warm it up too. Okay, so I'm just going to basically base coat my flowers. I'm hoping I can still see the pink line that comes through the outline, but don't know if I'll be able to totally see it or not. Hopefully I will. The white will make it more opaque. When you're adding white to anything, it makes your color opaque and pastel. So keep that in mind. If you don't want your color to be pastel, don't add the white. But this is kind of our just starting point for our flowers. And I am using my big brush. It's a number 10 flat brush, so it's 3/4 of an inch or so wide, 3/4 to an inch. Like all my edges are really kind of rough around the outside. They're not like super straight and all that. I'll finish all that out once I get it all detailed in. I'll go back and clean it up. You know, the base coat is always kind of fast and not precise. I can't see my lines real well. I'm going to go back. Technically, you could put your paper back over it and use your transfer paper, but you're probably not going to get an accurate line, you know, as far as lined up correctly. So I just say just draw in basic shapes, not precise, just where the little stamen looking things are. That kind of gives you an idea of where the actual flower is going. So what I'm going to do first is just with my smaller brush, go in and put these little middle pieces in. It's kind of a yellow. I'm going to put yellow with a bit of red, so it's almost orangey. Add a little white just to lighten it up. But that way it kind of tells me where those are, and I can kind of work around them. And they, you know, this is not the final, this is all just the base coat to start. Really fast. And then I'll finish them at the end of, after I've got the flower together, I'll make them more detailed. Okay, so now I'm going to go to my larger number 10 flat brush, dry it all out, take this magenta and red, maybe a little bit of that fluorescent pink, a little bit of slow dry medium, a dot, just a drip. Put it somewhere else and then you can mix it in because it'll sometimes come out so fast. Okay, so we're going to go, probably this big brush is a little bit more difficult, but I'm just going to go ahead and use it, and I'm just going to fan out my colors around the stamen, or that central thing, whatever it is. Or like this, the bottom of the flower is going to be a little bit deeper. Probably should use a smaller brush, but that's, I'm trying to be loose with it. And bigger forces you to go looser, but you know, you have a little bit less control. So if it's just the bottom of the flower and there's no stamen. So let's just do the first few and then we'll come back and do the lower ones, just because the paint dries so quickly, even with the slow dry medium in it. So even at the base of these little buds, I'm adding some. And you got to just kind of figure out how you want to separate out your petals too. Let's do, yeah, my brush is too big for this. Go to the number 8. So my pink is really kind of dried up, so I need to add some more fluorescent pink, magenta, put a little red in there, warm it up. The red kind of dulls it down, to be honest, so that's why I like the quinacridone and the fluorescent pink. Because you see there's that bright hot pink in here, so I'm kind of, I like that. I want to embrace it a bit. This is a bit dull, but I'm going to go ahead and use it. It's not quite as punchy as I'd really like it. And I'm just kind of going in and blending into that darker area. But not going all the way to the edge, because that'll be the lightest part. Alright, I'm not going to totally rinse my brush out, just getting most of the paint off of it. Going to take some of that fluorescent pink and white. And then that's going to be right along the edge. Again, I'm not trying to do realism, I'm just trying to make it punchy and fun. Add a little bit more white to that, and then go in and just try to go around those edges and bring it in just a little bit. Okay, I'm going to go back to these. A little red, a little quinacridone, a little fluorescent. And the fluorescent more so. And then the white. I'm going to go back in and add a little shading. Okay, so I got some green, a little bit of yellow, some brown, a little bit of red. It's going to be kind of at the bottom of these. And then they get more yellow. Now I want just almost straight white, but really, really pale yellow. This one's wet. Go back and add just a little bit more yellow. Okay, now I'm going to redo some of the leaves, and I'm just going to do a little bit of a light yellow lime. In this blue area, I like the blue, but I want to add some line work in it, I think. I'm going to see with the pink. It may not show up. Yeah, it does. So I'm just going to go in and kind of highlight the cells a little bit more, just to give it a little bit of interest. Makes it a little bit more fun. I'm going to turn this around. I think that helped that area. I want to put some pink around the green. Let's see. Let's see if I can do it without making it look weird. Okay, I still want the insides to be darker, so I'm going to use this quinacridone and the brown, and maybe a touch of green. That'll make it really deep. Okay, now a little bit darker here too. Okay, so here it is. See all the pink little lines I added. I don't know if you can see those or not. So there's that embellished pour. Hope you enjoyed it. I hope you learned something. Please subscribe. Please comment to keep the algorithms on YouTube kind of flowing. Help my channel get out of that stagnant stage. And I'm going to try to share more process videos like this just to have you see how I paint a process from beginning to end. So thank you so much, and I'll see you on the next video. Love you all. Bye bye.